Hey, Jason here. How you guys doing? Today, I wanted to talk about the time when I hit rock bottom in my 20s. And that was when I got fired from my very first job out of college. Real quick, a little bit about me. I went to school for chemistry and got a chemistry degree. But I was really never interested in being a chemist. That's probably why I got fired, right? I had the goal of being a doctor, more or less pushed on me by my mom. Don't worry, I got over the phase of resenting my mom and realized that it was, ultimately my choice. And I, just grew to own it. Fast forward to now, I'm 32 years old. And after many career switches and, trying to figure things out, I've been working as a professional software engineer for the last 6 to 7 years at a big Silicon Valley high-tech company. And I'm quite satisfied with my current life situation. But of course, it was never really like this. So let's rewind a bit. So after failing to get into medical school, I got a gig as a quality control chemist right out of college at like this kind of like cosmetic company, kind of like a P&G back in Ohio. And I hated every single bit of it. Basically, I was just kind of like a glorified lab tech factory worker. I hated clocking in and out. I hated wearing the stupid hair nets and the lab gowns and having to go up, basically walk all over the factory, go to the assembly line, pick up products, bring it back, to get it tested and all that stuff. I just hated it. But really, what I really hated the most was the fact that I pretended to care for so long. I think my dislike for the job really showed up in my attitude that I brought, to work every day and the vibes that I was, kind of giving off. It was just not vibing. And of course, a year later, I got canned. Man, I have to say, this really kicked off my depression at the time. And I would say it lasted almost 6 to 13 months. The depression was especially bad, late in the night or, when I'm hungover or when I'm out drinking. This sadness just came over me. Kind of I was just so ashamed that I just felt so, inadequate for, having to be fired from the very first job that I got out of college. Here I was, a 3.9 GPA college grad from a pretty decent research, level university, getting fired from what was basically a glorified factory job, making $15 an hour. Not to talk, down or shit about anybody that works in a factory or blue collar jobs, because my parents, they're actually still blue collar workers. Like my dad, he wait tables at American fine dining, Applebee's and a Midwest fine dining. My mom, she does nails. So not to talk down anything on those type of jobs, but for me, having the expectations of doing really well in college and all that stuff, I just did not envision this type of life for me. I mean, to make matters worse, I had friends, college mates who went on to go to medical school, who moved out of state for jobs, who were going on, business trips. People were, this is at around the same time that LinkedIn was kind of popping off. So, people were showing off and bragging about the jobs that they got, how much they were paid. Well, probably not how much they were paid, but you know what I mean. It just seemed like everyone's life was moving forward while mine was just moving drastically backwards. So in kind of panic mode, I moved back home with my parents. Thank God, being Asian, you're always welcome back home. And I kind of went into, again, panic mode again, and I need to make quick money, so I did what every Vietnamese person rite of passage is. I went to nail school and did nails and dated a girl that did nails and all that stuff, and I went straight into the Asian bubble. Anyways, long story short, I started working out again, and anyway, it kind of built up my confidence a little bit, and I started to teach myself how to code. Flash forward 7 years to now, I'm making way more money than I actually thought I could even make, 7 years ago, and I've been able to, leave good old hometown of Ohio and, been able to live in Austin, Texas for a couple years. And now, I'm living in Southern California, but also kind of just bouncing everywhere around because I have a pretty good remote gig. As an aside, I don't even know if I want to stay in Southern California for that long because, man, I feel like all my money just goes to paying taxes. I'm saying all these things to say that the old cliche is true. When one door closes, another one opens. But what I discovered is that, yes, many doors will open, but you have to put in the work to actually discover these doors and actually open them up yourself. Looking back, getting fired from my chemistry job was hands down the best thing that ever happened to me. See, honestly, my sadness and my depression, just this dark cloud that was hanging over me, honestly started the day I got that job. And I think the only thing that made me stay in that job for as long as I did was I was addicted to the steady paycheck. I mean, it wasn't even that much, but coming out of college, as a broke college student, I thought that was like all the money in the world. This reminds me of a quote from Nassim Taleb, and it goes something along like, the 3 most harmful addictions are heroin, carbohydrates, and a monthly salary. Back to this, teaching myself how to code thing. To be fair, yes, I started to take it more seriously and teach myself how to code after, I moved back home and stuff. But, actually, I was bit by this software development bug, kind of like towards the end of senior year of college when the movie The Social Network came out. And I think, being bitten by this, the software bug, no pun intended, it also made me very, dissatisfied with that chemistry job I had because I had so much kind of like creative energy, even borderline entrepreneurial energy, like, oh, I want to make this app, want to make that app, start this business or do this type of idea and all that stuff. But, this job was making me feel like a robot, and I hated pretending to care. And I hated the fact that I was clinging to this job that I hated because I just didn't want to make it seem like I was a failure, as someone who just graduated from university. Even though deep down inside I felt like a total failure. I mean, looking back, on my college days and, the ultimate failure that resulted, me getting fired from my chemistry gig, Jim Carrey was absolutely right. Like, you can fail at something that you don't want. So you might as well fail at something that you truly want. And I'm telling you, the feeling of, failing and getting fired from this chemistry job that I didn't even want in the first place just sucked. It felt like I was just ripped off, somehow by somebody out there. I didn't even want it. And I just, put on this act like, I wanted to be there, with a smile on my face every single day, being, micromanaged by all these managers. There were like 5 managers in that apartment. Like, why are there so many managers? I think I stayed in that job for as long as I did because of something called sunk cost fallacy. Basically, I was under the delusion that because I sunk so much time, energy, and money into this chemistry degree, that it probably wouldn't make sense for me to give up and cut my losses. Matter of fact, people actually do the opposite. Instead of cutting their losses and instead of cutting losers out of their life, a lot of people tend to double down on losing situations. And, really it's just the ego. They can't admit that they lost, right? A big no-no. Man, if I didn't get fired from that job, I would have still been in the same chemical biology lab industry. My career, money, my salary progression wouldn't have jumped, as fast, compared to my software, development career right now. I would have still probably be in Ohio, clocking in and out, working on weekends sometimes, covering shifts, doing all this grunt work for next to nothing pay, and putting on this fake smile and pretending like I like my coworkers and the 5 to 6 managers at that job. Now I don't have to put on a fake smile at all. I just don't get on video. 7 years later, I am happy to say that I am in a career that is in line with my talents and passion and overall interests. I mean, I think it's, I have a pretty decent life right now. Like I can't even remember the last time I was denied time off. Matter of fact, I'm actually currently at a job where there's an unlimited vacation policy, okay? And also my boss and the organization in general really cares about employees' mental health, and well-being. But most importantly, I'm at a job where, I can express this creative energy and this creative side of me, in a very fulfilling way. And do you know when was the moment I realized I found the perfect career? Well, I stopped checking the time. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you're at that job right now that you probably hate or whatever. I remember being at that chemistry job. I hate it. Every day, as soon as I come in, I'm like constantly checking the time to see, is it time to go? And what's even crazier, all right, is that 7 years ago, I was, compared to a lot of my college mates who went on with jobs and all that stuff, like I was making nothing. I was the person that made the least, okay? But now, 7 years later, I can confidently say that I make more than most of those people. Now, hold up. Some of you might be thinking, Jay, money is not everything. You know what? For me, it's not everything, but it's a big part of my life, right? For me, I have genuine inner ambitions to retire early and to maximize my earning potential, right? While I'm still young and healthy and able to, have the energy to make the most of it. If I'm going to be in golden handcuffs, I don't want to have them on for a long time, and I'd rather them be very golden. Oh, and I forgot. If I wasn't fired from that chemistry job, I would have probably never left Ohio. I would have probably never really taught myself how to code, to really take that shit seriously, because my back was really kind of like against the wall. I would have, bought a house, middle class BMW, get married, have some kids, and just slowly build my own prison. I'm saying all this to say that it really doesn't matter how you start, and all it matters is how you finish. For those of you who may have, lost your job, I would say, try to move back home with your parents if you can, okay? Take a step back, pause your life for a bit, and try to, take advantage of this opportunity to see if you can, segue to something that you really want to do. I know in life, we can really get caught up, comparing ourselves with others, comparing ourselves, with the Jones and our peers, making sure, we're kind of like, still following along, with them on the path or whatever. And getting fired can totally just throw you into panic mode because you think that you're like, way behind the race now. Getting fired was really the best thing that happened to me. Sometimes you have to take a step or two back in order to go faster and further. If you're thinking about learning how to code, I made a video on how I would learn the code if I were to start over. Peace.